Hello, and welcome to Writers Group Therapy.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Roshni. We're writers helping writers with whatever writing ailments you might have.
Whether it's related to your craft or your career, we can help.
Are you ready for your session?
The doctors are in.
Today, we have with us Shannon Massey Smith, a writer, filmmaker, and owner of Girls to the Front Productions. She is also a script doctor and a ghostwriter, a sensitivity/authenticity reader, a developmental editor, and a proofreader since 2002. Welcome to the show, Shannon.
Thanks for having me, friends. I'm glad to be here.
We're so excited because script doctoring to me is one of those things that people talk about it and we know it happens, but nobody owns up to it.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
It's cheating. I feel like it's cheating in some ways. Like you can't write it yourself. You have to get help.
For some people, it's that they just need the help. They've got the ideas, but they're not able to execute them. Or some people, it's just that they need they can almost get it there, but they just need a little bit of help, kind of getting it over to the edge and to where it's marketable. Or a lot of what I do is making sure that the women in the scripts actually sound and act like women, and you don't have anybody with their boobs bouncing bobbly down the stairs or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't age well. Oh
Right.
my word. So what exactly is a script doctor and versus a ghostwriter, and how on earth did you even get into that?
So I fell into it. I'd been in a writers group, and it was, most of the people there were in LA trying to get their big break. And a friend of mine had been passing the script around and was like, I don't know why it's not getting anywhere. Do you mind just taking a look at it and, telling me if you see anything? And it was a super easy fix. It was just that the characters needed a little love, and so did the dialogue. So I kind of was like, I've never written a screenplay before. I haven't professionally, but I think this is what you need to do, and you need to just make these changes. And he did that, and I don't know exactly what happened with the script, but it sounds, or I think if I remember right, he got it made. And then other people were like, hey, so you helped my friend, can you help me? And I was like, okay, maybe since people keep asking me for help, I should learn how to do this. So I went to film school, got a degree in writing and directing, and then landed a couple clients that really helped launch me in my career, and helped me get some of the bigger projects. And I just sort of kind of kept on going. And the script doctoring and ghostwriting, there can be a lot of overlap, but script doctoring, ghostwriting is basically somebody, you do the work and somebody else gets the credit. So think of you see the nerds in movies doing the jocks' homework so they can stay on the team. That's basically what I do. I just get paid for it now. And script doctoring is just kind of taking what's there and helping to refine it. Sometimes it's the characters need a little love, or the action isn't quite moving right. Sometimes it needs a complete overhaul. I always try and find the parts of the script that work, and then kind of, hey, you did such a good job on this, even if it's just like, hey, you did a really good job naming your characters, and I'm going to take and fix everything else is
Oh,
going,
no.
thank you for that part of it, so I try and I don't want anyone to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm terrible at this. I try and at least, help them, and I'll sort of explain why I'm doing what I'm doing. And most of the time it's changes that need to be made, because how we write a screenplay, that's the template that the production team uses for making the film. So we have to make sure that we have everything written a certain way, so that during the breakdown process, you don't have 10 characters being, or 10 actors being cast for the same character, or 6 locations being brought on when you really only need one. And so our job is, as much as people say oh, who cares how it's formatted, and just, you do you and write, it's incredibly important that things are formatted properly, so that it can then be actually made into a film. And if you don't do your job right, then someone else down the road has to do it for you, which is where I come in.
So thank you, writers of Hollywood, for keeping her in work.
Yes, thank you. My kids appreciate it.
Now, are you hired for specific things, like you're known for you're great with characters or you're good at tightening this plot, or is it more just like they give it to you and they're like, have at it, do whatever you think needs to be done?
It depends on the projects. Like I'm well known for dialogue, especially, and my ability to mimic different um, writers' styles. And so, if you want a script that sounds like it was written by, um, as problematic as he can be, as like if you want something that sounds like a Joss Whedon script, I can mimic that style for you. And so I got, I was actually, for a good chunk of my career, it was kind of funny because I'd have an email that was like, "Hey, Whedon, come help. I need your help." And that was how I knew it came from a specific client of mine, because that's what she called me. And so it was
That's
kind
funny.
of, and it's funny because she's like, with all these things coming out, maybe I need to find a different nickname for you. It was like, I was like, yeah. And so I'm really good at that. And I'm also known for my speed. I had uh, one of my major clients, I've been working with her for, oh gosh, 10, 15, probably like 15 years at least, maybe closing in on 20. She was one of the
Wow.
first clients like big clients I landed, and she then helps me connect with other people, and so she kind of works as a go-between. But she called me in a panic, and she was like, "We're about to lose funding. This project is completely falling through. I think if I can just fix the script, like one of the producers or somebody was like, or one of the executives was complaining about something. She's like, I just don't know what to do, and I'm about to lose everything. Can you help?" And I was like,
Oh
sure, yeah,
my.
no problem. Like, when do you need this by? She's like, oh, well, my meeting's like at 2 p.m. Pacific. And I was like, oh, so in like 2 hours. She's like, yeah, whatever, like, do whatever you can do. And so I like cleared my slate. I let all my other clients, everything else that I was working on, like, know, like, hey man, I'm pushing everything for the next 2 hours. Um, and so I sat down and I just, I put on my, I have ADHD. And so my audio, one of my stimming tracks, I was like, okay, I'm just going to put some music on. And so I just did as much as I could do in that 2 hours, and we were able to save the production. But it was one of those things where, they also know that they can kind of call me in a pinch, and I can help with some of those. When you're on the verge of losing everything, it's like, okay, Shannon to the
Oh my
rescue.
word. That is amazing, and especially oh my gosh, in 2 hours, I would just cry. I would
Yeah,
be like, "I'm done,
it
forget it."
was by the
I
end.
hope you got a good bonus for that.
I did. It was, and yeah, it was one of those like, it's like, okay, now I know that I can get through 120 pages in 2 hours if I need to.
Oh my word. Oh my word. But that brings up an interesting point because your name is not on the script. You probably don't get royalties, right? You probably just get a flat fee. Or do you get like, how does that work with, like, WGA and all that stuff?
That can be tricky, and it's funny because I actually recently, it was within the last couple years, learned that um, some of how I do things, or and how things have been done in the past, was actually sort of against regulations and stuff. And so that was kind of funny. I was like, oh, so I should have been getting more recognition than I was. But with some of it, I will get, when it isn't a ghostwriting project, when it's just script doctoring, I'll get points towards the WGA and everything. I've actually been eligible to join twice, and the first time I couldn't afford to, and the second time I was going through this little phase, where I was like, "No, I'm going to be an indie, and I don't need anybody, and I'm not going to be belong anywhere." And so, and looking back, I'm like, "Oh, Shannon." And but I'm back to the point now where I'm within am within striking distance of being able to join the union again and everything. And so this time it's like, okay, I'm gonna definitely definitely jump on that.
I just have to comment on the irony of your statement, striking distance, just based on what's going on in the industry right now.
Right. It's like, oh,
Oh man.
we have so much work. We've come a long way, and because I originally started on sets in 1998, and then and I sort of and then I started doing mostly like 98 to 2000. It was mostly extras work and stuff, and then in 2000, my aunt called and was like, "Shannon, you're 18, right?" It's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Great, you're working for BMW next year or next week. I'll get you the details." And so I started working as a PA and and then as I was doing film work, I kind of fell into writing, and it's just been so because I've got both sides of the coin there. uh, I've seen the progress we've made in the industry, but I also see how far we have to go, both with our writers and with filmmakers and on set and everything, and just taking care of everyone.
Well, at what point does script doctoring become co-writing? I mean, I know there's a percentage that the WGA looks at, like, when they're figuring out credits. Does that play into what you do, or are you literally just patching up, spackling and what have you, so it's not considered right, like actual writing credit?
That can be kind of a tricky line for sure, and it's usually and there's also a lot that can be done to kind of keep people from being listed as co-writers, or getting the credit they deserve. It's a um, You just need to change 10% of something for you to be able to call it your own. Uh,
Hmm.
which you know, so if you do all the work, or um, if you have somebody do all the work, and then you can have somebody else come in, change a few things, call it their own, which can lead to a lot of problems. I think that there definitely needs to be a better, if you're in this specific percentage, you are definitely a co-writer no matter what happens. Or if you're doing this, then you're definitely just doctoring it, and this is where you're going to be, because it has led to problems. And I've seen friends who have had, you know, work they've worked on for years, get picked up like, oh, this is great. Taken, they change just enough that they can then call it their own, and they don't get any of the credit. They don't get any of the royalties. It's always sad to see.
Oh, that's like the other side of it. That's not just getting half of it, that's trying to take all of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I know for me, I usually specify now that I'm further along in my career, and I've been doing this for decades. I actually have it in my contracts where it's like, okay, um, if I do this much work or more, and I usually say if it's 50% of the script, um, or more, uh, it's co-writing instead of script
Yeah.
doctoring. Or if they come back to me multiple times, then it's like, okay, this is a collaboration. This isn't just me, spackling it. And so I
Who
sort of,
who determines how much gets done, I guess is the question. Is it like they hand you a script and you say this is what needs to be done and this is how long it's going how much effort it's going to take of mine and that kind of thing?
yeah, that's usually, so I usually do at least for me in my process, I like to do a free consultation where I kind of just take a quick look at the script so that I can give the people an idea of like, it's like, okay, this is in really good shape. You just have some formatting errors. So it'll be, um, so it'll be a couple days and, this much money, versus, oh goodness, is this has um, this needs a lot of love and it's going to take a lot of work. So it's going to be more, instead of a couple of days, it's probably going to take a few weeks to get this where it needs to go. Like I've had, recently, I had a person who, this script is done. It just like, I think I just need a sanity check. I'm really happy with where it is. And it was just um, a stack of scanned notes. it's like, okay, that's not, and I've had that happen a few times. Like I had one guy who was like, "Oh, I'm totally done with my script. I'm so excited," um, and it was just a bunch of illegible notes on a cocktail napkin,
Oh my
and
god.
I was like, "Oh, this isn't a script, honey. This is just some drunken ramblings, but we can turn it
So
into a script."
that's more ghost writing than script doctoring. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely, yeah, so it's that can kind of weave back and forth too, where it's like, okay, this just needs some help with the formatting versus like, oh, this is just a pile of notes and I'm actually gonna have to write everything and do everything. Um,
Is there anything that you like won't do, like that's like outside your realm of responsibility? I mean, like someone like that comes to you with a stack of notes and they don't even have a plot that's solid. I mean, will you write a whole script and say and get handed over to them?
oh yeah, yeah, I've done that,
Really?
quite a few times where it's like, okay, like, um, as long as I get paid, I'll happily you can give me your drunken ramblings. I had a gentleman that was, uh, just stoned, and it was really funny because he was like, "Okay, man, I've got this really like I just need you to like vibe with me here. We're just gonna like go on a journey." And so he spent like probably an hour and a half on a call with him as he kind of just went through and like rambled about what he wanted to see. Um, and we did some. It took some back and forth, and and everything, but we were able to get it to where he wanted it to be. Um, and so yeah, there's really, as far as that goes, like whether it's a, you've got an outline or you have a full script and you just need some help. Like I personally am happy to do anything, like regardless of where you are in the process. However, I do um, have some content things that I just won't do. Like I had a gentleman who had a script that had some very graphic scenes involving um, abusive children that were,
Oh.
and I was like, no, dude, I'm not even touching this. This is like, frankly,
Hmm.
this script is just, it feels more like you're writing a snuff film or something. This is just not okay. Um, and he actually got very upset with me. It was kind of funny because he came to I was giving a talk at a festival, and he actually came to the festival to argue with me. Um, about his script and how important it is, and I was like, "Dude, like, what are you doing, bro? Like, there's no like, granted, I understand." Yeah,
Boundaries.
and so it was kind of, but it was a common thing that I run into where it was a mediocre white man who felt entitled to my time, um, and felt entitled to uh, his his opinion mattering more and his voice mattering more. And so it was kind of funny. It was like, okay, dude, no, this it doesn't matter how you try and like, it's not artistic. It's not, you're not trying to raise awareness. You've just got some really bad ideas on paper, and you have to maybe just let this go.
I can't even imagine who would wanna buy and make a film like that,
Right?
unless there's, like, some real compelling story behind it, but ugh.
Yeah. It was like,
Ugh, like,
yeah,
ugh.
right. There's
Ugh.
times where you need to touch upon really difficult issues, and you have to and especially like I pride myself on being an accomplice for other marginalized people, um, and marginalized creators, and I want to support them. I want to help them tell their stories. But and so sometimes you have to go into those difficult topics, and you have to make people uncomfortable. But there's a way to do it right. There's a right way and a wrong way, and so you just have to make sure that you're doing it in a way that's going to be um, creating a dialogue versus just, like, "Oh, this is just too much and nobody needs to see this."
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. Ugh.
Yeah,
Sorry, shaking off the heebie-jeebies over
yeah.
here. Woo!
It's like, ugh.
Ugh. Let's talk about something a little happier,
Right?
I guess, well, since you're probably, like, under NDAs for the rest of your life, for basically everything you do, how do you source work? I mean, obviously, you've been doing this for a while, but is it all just word of mouth, or
Yeah, there's a lot of word of mouth, and then there's, applying for various jobs through all the different, freelancing sites. There are people that find me through through social media, um,
Hmm.
and so it's just kind of this weird kind of cobbling together of like, hey, I know someone that knows someone that knows someone, and and it's very like it's kind of funny because it feels very kind of speakeasy. Like, here's the password,
Yeah.
like, um, and
Well, now they'll be, I heard you on a podcast.
right,
Right.
exactly,
I was gonna say, is Shannon Massey Smith really your real name?
right. And the name's Doe, Jane Doe, and
Oh my word. And now you're not even right, you live in Colorado, so you've moved away from Los Angeles. How do you source work now that you're not in the industry hub?
oh, actually, I've always been here in Colorado, and I've just moved for work,
Oh, okay.
and so yeah, I've worked all over the world. I just sort of travel, and now it's definitely I've got kids. My boys are 12 and a half and 10, and my bonus kid is 21. And so because of the boys and their school schedule, I share custody with my ex-wife, and so during the school year, Monday through Friday, I have the boys, and do I can work while they're in school or on the weekends while they're with their other mom. And so that's definitely, and then during the summer it kind of switches, and I have like basically like 48 hours a week with them. So it's kind of nice because I can then sort of shift days and times during the summer when film work is a little when I'm getting more jobs and stuff. But it definitely does impact things, and you have to work when you have to work remotely,
Yeah.
or fly out there for meetings and stuff. But it's always kind of worked for me, and like I had a film I worked on where I was in Romania for 3 months and living over there, and I've spent a lot of time in LA, and so I just sort of couch surf and find ways to work as a local in those
Mhm.
in those other hubs, and it works for me.
I'm just imagining your kids are like, "We can't talk about what mom does for work.
And
It makes you sound like you're a spy or something," you know?
it's so funny because Jameson, my 12 and a half year old, he's like, but mom, like, I don't know anybody, so it's okay for you to tell me. And I'm like, technically I could, however, I still can't even tell you or your brother, or and it actually is kind of funny because so much of my work is as a ghostwriter and I can't talk about my clients and things. I always have a
Mhm.
supplemental income job, or I usually do, for like things like income verification for loans or for apartments or things like that, because I can't very well be like,
Oh,
because so
yeah.
that's one of the downsides to being predominantly most of my work is as a ghostwriter, and most of my script doctoring is as a ghostwriter, is that it's like yes I work, and yes yes I have income. I just can't I can't talk to you. I can't show you the pay
Yeah.
stubs, and so
And you can't prove it
and I
if you
can't
can't
prove
talk
it.
about
Yeah,
it.
it's so
Oh,
it's kind of this
geez.
funny. It's a funny position to be in, until
Oh,
it's something that I
man.
really need to be able to do, and then it's like, ah.
Oh, man. Now here's a question, since you do fix a lot of mistakes, what are the most common writing mistakes you see in the scripts that you work on?
It's funny because the three most common mistakes I see are um, numbers and dialogue, and you can't. So, like, if you're saying, here's $100, because you need to write out, instead of just putting the number 100 in there, you have to write out 100 so that the the actor knows how to say it. And it doesn't matter if it's like one number or 100 numbers. You need to write each number out in dialogue.
On
Um,
behalf of actors everywhere, thank you so
Yeah.
much for that.
yeah,
That
Oh my
seems like
gosh.
a basic style thing, actually, but it
yeah,
happens a lot, huh?
it
Hmm.
does. Yeah, it's surprising how, because because the actors need to know how to say the line. And so and then I also see, like, she gazed into his eyes for a moment, um, and um, if you and so when I see that, what I'll do is I'll say, okay, what I want you to do is take a timer, set it for 60 seconds, and just stare at the wall. Don't do anything. And that 60 seconds feels really long. and then it's like, okay, um, would you like to stare at somebody on the screen, gazing intently into somebody's eyes for that long, or standing in a doorway, or and it's like no. So instead of using moment or minute, you need to use beat. Um, and so it's like, and then you can. It says if it's several beats, mean the director and the actors know they need to take a little bit of time and they need to pause there. If it's a intense beat, they know that there's going to be some emotion there. And then with those are two two of the biggest ones. The third is in spec scripts, people just put way too much detail in, and it's spec scripts are supposed to be um, for the people that don't usually work on, and they're not usually on set. They're the people that have the money and make things happen, and so they don't want to read a bunch. They just want the basic, who's there, where are they, and what's happening. And so it's like, okay, you can put as much detail as you want to in a director's script, or you can put a little more detail in a shooting script. But for those spec scripts, you have to keep it kind of bare bones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now you work in certain genres, right? You're mostly what, sci-fi, horror, fantasy, maybe action. Is that what your specialties are?
Yeah, that's I do a lot of work in those genres, but I'm a genre jumper, and so I basically work across all genres. And there's kind of a running joke where if you find a genre I haven't written in over the course of my career, I'll buy you a drink. And so far, I haven't had anybody find one that I.
I asked because I wrote a feature length comedy, and when I got done with it, I realized there's no jokes in it. It's not funny at all. And I was like, comedy is. I've always said this. Comedy scares me more than horror.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So, do you work in comedy as well?
I do. Yeah, and it's a lot of fun, but there's definitely um, sort of a whole different way you approach comedy versus approaching drama or horror, and there are different beats you want to hit. And like I actually have a template for like Hallmark movies and like those sorts of that I use. That's basically like you can just change out the like, okay, she's going to be a lawyer instead of a baker, and we'll just change this from New York to Santa Fe, and there we go. We've got a different story.
I think there's a website for that, like the Hallmark movie film generator kind
Generator.
of thing. Yeah. And there's like a column for, yeah, what she does, where she is, what her problem is, and that kind of thing. And they just kind of spits out ideas.
Yeah.
If somebody came to you with like a script that like a comedy like I have, and I mean usually they call it like just a punch up, where they punch up the jokes.
Yep.
What if it's yeah, what if it's not like they're not there yet? Like you're not to the point where you're punching up. You're like trying to get the humor in there in the first place.
That's that's for like, instead of needing a little bit of love, it needs a lot of love, is what I I like to say. And that that doesn't really change what you're doing. Although if you're adding a lot, you might end up putting that person on as a co-writer versus a script doctor, if they're doing a massive rewrite. Um, but they but usually with that, it's just somebody goes in and we just sort of like, oh, here, instead of saying this, they could do this and then say this, and then you've got your joke, and you've got your setup and the punchline. And so it's just about, you just sort of approach each project with, okay, what's this worked for this one, I don't know if it's going to work for this, we might need to do it this way. And you just sort of kind of figure each one's a little bit different, and you just sort of figure out.
You're just looking at all the problems and solving them in order until there aren't any more problems,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sitting here thinking, all right, let's see. Not because I don't actually really drink, but because I want to see if I can figure something out that you haven't written in. We have comedy, we have drama, we have horror, Western.
Yep, I've done quite a few westerns. It's
Western? Okay. Okay. Historical drama, like a Pride and Prejudice type thing?
Yep, we've done a few of those. We had one, oh, this is one I can sort of talk about a little bit.
Okay.
It was for a fellow, in Britain, and it was kind of funny because the running joke the entire time was, yeah, because I'm Irish and he was British. It was kind of a running joke the entire
Oh,
time.
no.
And so, like, I was like, he's like, "Oh, now you're colonizing my script or something," and I was like, "Oh, man,
Oh,
might be
dear.
too soon, might be
Ooh.
too soon."
We'll just ignore that comment.
And,
Okay, Bollywood?
I have, and that was a fun one because 'cause I've always wanted to, and it was mostly it was just a few scenes, but they had some scenes that were set in um it was kinda like a dream sequence, and it was set at a 50s diner here
Oh my
in, like, a
gosh.
small town states, so they didn't have me do the entire script, they were just like, "We need you to just look at these 3 scenes and help us make sure that these 3 scenes are American enough." And
Wow, okay, K-drama. I'm running out of options. I'm trying to, like, reach as far
really
as I
good.
can here.
And, oh, let me see. You
Have
mi
you done a K-drama?
you might have got me, hold on.
Whoa!
Oh boy.
Someone hire her for a K-drama, quick!
Yes, I would love to. Oh, you know what? I actually don't think I've worked on a K-drama, so I owe you a drink, and
All right. Woo! Way to go,
Oh
Roshni.
my gosh. I was trying to think of something like really I know they're so much
oh,
fun,
they're
aren't
so
they?
much fun,
Like,
yes.
oh my word. That's so awesome. Oh my gosh. But you've written for everything else, so
Yes,
K-drama is the next one for you to conquer.
it
That's
is,
awesome.
definitely.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Shannon. Oh my gosh, this has been such a great discussion. If people want to find you, how can they find you online?
They can get me at, girlstothefrontproductions.com, and, there's a little contact form they can use there. I'm also actually, I haven't been on social media much, but you can find me on Twitter at S_Massey. I'm on Discord as, S_Massey, and Instagram, Shannon Massey Smith.
Cool. Thank you so much, everyone. Make sure you check her out, and we will see you in a few weeks.